blind has ever been diagnosed with schizophrenia. And when I say no one, I mean no one. We've searched the historical records. We've looked in mental hospitals. There was a 2018 study that looked at 500,000 children, and we have never found a single person born blind who develops schizophrenia. Now, this is really weird because if you have visual problems later in life, that actually makes you more likely to develop schizophrenia. Scientists have no idea why this happens.
The number one connection between the eyes and the brain is the optic nerve. So the optic nerve is sending signals from whatever the photoreceptors, the light receptors hitting the retina, the back of the eye, turns it into electrical signals. Those electrical signals take that highway of the optic nerve to the brain, and then it goes into the visual cortex in the occipital lobe. And then the brain processes that and says, this is what color, shape, depth, motion, processes that information.
And if we don't have sight, we are feeling what we are seeing.
Yes.
So if we're feeling what we are seeing, we are able to better determine the intention of who or what is in front of us because we are feeling intuitively. Obviously, it would be great if we could have someone who does not have sight to bring their input in. It feels like there is a deeper connection that someone who does not have sight has with energetic experiences and knowings versus someone who does have sight. They are able to, I want to use the word almost bypass the brain, which a lot of us would view that as a negative, but it's not a negative. It actually allows this person to have a more real, honest, thorough life experience because the brain isn't telling them through their sight what is or what isn't. Instead, their intuition is. There's a connector, I'm going to use that word, between the brain and the eyes that those without sight do not have. So there is something that those without sight, there is something missing, and not necessarily in a negative way, that almost frees them up and gives them an immediate connection to source. When we have sight, it feels as if there's a connector we're born with that is there to almost challenge us in life. The challenge is it continues to pull us away from our intuition, and it keeps us in this logical space instead of utilizing our intuition to feel what someone is saying, doing, or being.
Because we're depending on the neural pathways. And if you eliminate the neural pathways, then you rely on the intuition. And then there's less room for disruption of the perception. Schizophrenia it's a chronic mental illness where you have disruptions in your thought patterns, in your perceptions, in your emotions, and then your behaviors. So you're going to have delusions, you're going to have hallucinations, you're going to have disorganized speech and disorganized thinking, and then you can have a completely flat affect or like inappropriate emotional reaction. So that's what schizophrenia is. So when you think about, okay, blind people don't tend to have that, maybe it's because the blind person's brain processes information differently. They have no visual input, so they're less susceptible to misinterpreting sensory data. That's from the scientific medical perspective, that's my theory.